Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Real Talk. Today we have a very special guest, my good friend James, who's here to chat about married life. James, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Sarah. Always a pleasure to be here.
So, James, let's dive right into it. How long have you been married now?
It's been about 6 years now. Time really flies when you're having fun, or so they say.
6 years, wow, that's a solid amount of time. How did you and your wife meet?
We actually met through mutual friends at a party. I wasn't really looking to meet anyone at the time, but there was something about her that just clicked with me.
That's awesome. It's funny how the best things happen when you're not looking for them. What do you think was the biggest change for you after getting married?
I think the biggest change was learning to share my space and my life with someone else. Before marriage, I was pretty used to my own routine and habits. Suddenly, there's another person with their own routines and habits, and you have to find a way to blend them together.
That sounds like a big adjustment. Was there anything in particular that was challenging to get used to?
Honestly, it was the little things. Like, I'm a neat freak, and she's a bit more relaxed about tidiness. So there were some funny moments where we had to negotiate our different standards of cleanliness. But over time, we found a balance.
I can imagine that must have been quite the negotiation. What's something you've learned about yourself since getting married?
I've learned that I'm more patient than I thought I was. Marriage has a way of teaching you patience and understanding. You really have to learn to communicate and listen to your partner. And that's something I've gotten better at over the years.
Communication is key, for sure. How do you and your wife handle disagreements or conflicts when they arise?
We've developed a rule where we don't go to bed angry. It's easier said than done sometimes, but we really make an effort to resolve our issues before the end of the day. We talk things through and try to understand each other's perspectives. It's not always perfect, but it helps.
That's a great rule to have. Speaking of communication, do you guys have any specific rituals or routines that help keep your bond strong?
Yes, we do. We have a weekly date night, no matter how busy we get. It's our time to reconnect and spend quality time together. We also make sure to have regular check-ins where we talk about how we're feeling and if there's anything we need to work on in our relationship.
That's wonderful. Keeping the connection alive is so important. What's one of your favorite memories together since getting married?
One of my favorite memories is our honeymoon. We went to Italy, and it was just magical. Exploring new places together, experiencing different cultures, and just having that uninterrupted time with each other was incredible. It set a beautiful tone for our marriage.
That sounds amazing. Italy is such a romantic destination. On the flip side, have there been any particularly tough times that you've had to navigate together?
Yes, like any couple, we've had our share of tough times. One that stands out was when we experienced a miscarriage a few years ago. It was an incredibly difficult period for both of us, but it brought us closer together. We leaned on each other for support and really learned the importance of being there for one another.
I'm so sorry to hear that, James. That must have been incredibly hard. It's inspiring to hear how you both supported each other through it.
Thank you, Sarah. It was tough, but it also taught us a lot about resilience and the strength of our relationship.
Absolutely. So, looking ahead, what are you most excited about for the future with your wife?
I'm excited to continue building our life together. We're thinking about starting a family soon, and that's a whole new adventure we're looking forward to. I'm also excited to keep growing together and seeing where life takes us.
That's so exciting! Starting a family is a big step, and it sounds like you two are ready for it. Any advice for newlyweds or those thinking about getting married?
My biggest piece of advice would be to keep communication open and honest. Don't be afraid to share your feelings and thoughts with your partner. And always remember to appreciate each other, even for the little things. It's the little acts of love and kindness that keep the spark alive.
Wise words, James. It's been so great talking to you about married life. Thanks for sharing your experiences and insights with us.
It's been my pleasure, Sarah. Thanks for having me on the show.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning into this episode of The Real Talk. Until next time, take care and keep those conversations real. Extended conversation.
So, James, let's dig a little deeper. You mentioned you have a weekly date night. Can you give us some examples of what you guys like to do?
Absolutely. We try to mix it up to keep things interesting. Sometimes we'll go out for a nice dinner or try a new restaurant. Other times, we'll have a cozy night in with a movie and some homemade popcorn. We've also done activities like hiking, attending a local event, or even just going for a long walk together.
That sounds lovely. Variety really does spice things up. Have you discovered any new hobbies together?
Yes, actually. During the pandemic, we started gardening together. Neither of us had much experience with it, but we found it to be really therapeutic and rewarding. It's become a new passion for both of us, and it's something we can enjoy and work on together.
Gardening. That's fantastic. It's great to find activities that you can both enjoy and bond over. Has it influenced other areas of your life?
Definitely. And it's taught us a lot about patience and working towards a common goal. Plus, it's given us a deeper appreciation for nature and where our food comes from. We've even started cooking more with the vegetables we grow, which has been another fun activity to do together.
Cooking with homegrown vegetables, that sounds wonderful. Speaking of food, are there any specific dishes that have become staples in your household?
Oh, yes, there are a few. We make a mean ratatouille with our garden veggies. Also, we've perfected a homemade pizza recipe that's become a Friday night tradition. Cooking together has been a great way to connect and spend quality time.
Those sound delicious. It's great to hear how you've incorporated your gardening into your meals. Let's switch gears a bit. How do you handle the division of household chores?
That's a great question. We try to divide things as evenly as possible. We both have our strengths and preferences, so we play to those. For example, I'm usually in charge of the cooking, and she handles most of the cleaning. We also have a shared calendar where we keep track of tasks and make sure things are balanced.
That sounds like a fair system. Communication and fairness seem to be recurring themes in your marriage. Have there been any surprises in terms of expectations versus reality in married life?
I think one surprise was just how much work it can be. You hear that marriage is hard work, but living it is another story. It's a constant effort to communicate, compromise, and support each other. But it's also incredibly rewarding and fulfilling.
That's very honest and true. Marriage is indeed a lot of work, but like you said, it's rewarding. What about maintaining individuality within the relationship? How do you balance time together and personal space?
That's a crucial aspect. We make sure to give each other space to pursue our individual interests and hobbies. For instance, I love playing guitar, and she enjoys painting. We have our dedicated times to do these activities. It's important to maintain a sense of self and independence within the marriage.
Absolutely. Maintaining individuality is so important. Have you faced any challenges related to this?
At times, yes. There have been moments where we've had to remind each other of the need for personal space. It's easy to get caught up in wanting to spend all your time together. But we've learned that having our own time makes our time together even more special. We're fortunate to have supportive families, but it can still be tricky at times. We set boundaries early on and made sure to communicate those to our families. We also make an effort to spend time with both sides of the family, so no one feels left out. It's all about balance and communication.
Setting boundaries is key. Have there been any memorable moments or funny stories involving your in-laws?
Oh, definitely. One time, her parents came over for dinner, and we decided to make sushi. Neither of us had done it before, and it turned into a hilarious disaster. The rolls were falling apart, rice was everywhere, but it ended up being a fun, memorable night for all of us.
That sounds like a lot of fun, even if it didn't go as planned. Those are the moments that make great stories. How about your friends? Have your friendships changed since getting married?
Some have, yes. It's natural for friendships to evolve as your life changes. We've found that we tend to spend more time with other couples now, but we still make an effort to see our single friends and maintain those relationships. It's all about balance and making time for the people who are important to you.
Balance seems to be a recurring theme here, and rightly so. How do you manage to find time for everything? Work, marriage, hobbies, and friends?
It's not always easy, but we try to stay organized and prioritize. We use a shared calendar to keep track of everything. We also make sure to set aside time for each other and for ourselves. It's about making conscious choices and sometimes saying no to things that don't align with our priorities.
That makes sense. Organization and prioritization are crucial. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about married life?
Just that it's a journey. There will be ups and downs, but it's the commitment to work through those together that makes it worthwhile. Appreciate the little moments, communicate openly, and always support each other. Marriage is one of the most rewarding adventures you can embark on.
Beautifully said, James. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and insights with us today. It's been a fantastic conversation.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been great chatting with you.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to The Real Talk. We hope you enjoyed this episode on married life. Until next time, stay connected and keep those conversations real.